A very good morning to you. How are you doing? This is K24 this morning, and my name is Mungala Mbuvi, as usual, sitting in for Jeff Mote. But like I usually say, the conversation continues right here, very bright and early on K24. Speaking of which, you can get your copy of the People Daily by dialing *550*4#, and for only 10 shillings a day, you get this paper. And speaking of which, this is what you get when you dial that number. Who will lead the No campaign without Ruto? That is a question on the headlines, and there is a caption there of three leaders: Kivuta Kibwana, Makueni Governor, Martha Karua, Kenya leader, and also former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga, all giving their voice into this situation that is the BBI, or the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020. And the caption says, BBI showdown with DPs, apparent change of heart, civil society leaders and politicians are angling to carry the mantle in campaign against constitutional amendments. Well, we are still not sure as of today if the Deputy President will lead the No campaign, if at all there will be any. Get the full story on page 4 of the People Daily. Still right there, page 6 says, Kenya, Somalia in new tiff after envoys recalled. Both Kenya and Somalia have recalled their envoys, as they called it consultations. There has been a little bit of a problem as far as the Jubaland elections are concerned, and Kenya has been accused by Somalia to interfere in this particular election. But of course, Kenya denies all that. Get that story on page 6. And at the very top there, the good and bad news in HIV/AIDS fight. 25 countries have managed to reduce the rate of infections by more than 50%, but 7 others have registered a reversal of fortunes. Get the full story on page 14 to 15. And the theme for this year is ending the HIV/AIDS pandemic, resilience and impact. The full story, like I said, 14 to 15 of the People Daily. You can dial that one, *550*4#, and for only 10 bob, no data and no application, get it on your phone or your tablet or your smart device. Looking over at the Daily Nation, and this is what it says: fresh BBI demands by Ruto men. The creation of the office of Prime Minister, one of the issues that require a referendum. Of course, one of the reform agendas that has been pitted by the Deputy President, and a lot has been said. But we know that his lieutenants have said that they are not backing down. So is it a tactical retreat, or is it just him giving in to the situation? Well, you can find that story on page 4. And also still there, Professor Kithure Kindiki, we should discuss proposals further, amend those as we all agree on, and vote on the contentious ones. Samuel Cherargei, the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 should be voted on clause by clause to separate the chaff from the wheat. Well, something that we discussed here extensively yesterday on K24 this morning. If you look at the very top page, or rather top side of the page, that is the top right, Somalia Jubaland dispute nets Kenya diplomatic tiff. That story is on the back page. And also on the left, you are on your own. Kenya tells ICC case lawyer no legal help is coming his way. Also on the back story, Sonko faces disgraceful dirty ouster. That story at the very bottom there of the front page. He was arrested yesterday as he met some of his allies to discuss his next move. Get the full story on the Daily Nation. And on the Standard newspaper, the headline says 2022 elections date headache. That sets the tone for our discussion today. We'll be looking at the 2022 succession politics. Who is going to take over from President Uhuru Kenyatta? Well, something we definitely need to discuss going forward. And on page 6, it is captioned that with the referendum set for mid-next year, the country will be racing against time to implement some of the provisions contained in the BBI document ahead of 2022 polls. And how will it pull off a referendum? Overhaul of IBC and boundary delimitation for 70 new constituencies by August 2021, a year to elections. Well, page 6 has that story. You can also check out my deal with Bob Collymore that changed KCB. This is Joshua Oigara, the group CEO of KCB Group. And also twist in plan to impeach Sonko. Story on page 5. And last but not least, City Road to be ready in 6 months. But then again, at the very top there, HIV shocker. Schoolgirls hit hard by new infections as AIDS kills 57 every year. Like I told you, the theme for this year is ending the HIV/AIDS pandemic, resilience and impact. Moving on to the last one, and this is the Star. The headline says, how Karua Ndi Kibwana intend to stop BBI push. There is a video that was trending yesterday of Boniface Mwangi, activist turned politician at some point, where he said that this country needs to vote no in case of the referendum. So Martha Karua also in attendance of that particular presser, and Laloro said something we'll definitely discuss here. And Figure 190 unlikely to chair a 50-40 member parliament. Well, that story is on page 4 to 5. Also, there is some trouble in the church as Thika SDA church split over pastor affair with elder's wife. Full story is on page 3. And COVID-19 taught me riches don't matter. This is Kasese MP Dr. Swarup Mishra. And at the very bottom there, governments in power a threat to democracy. Full story on page 21, written by Alex Awiti. And last but not least, we shall also be looking at, as far as the star is concerned, shop for COVID-19 vaccine in China and what Uhuru is telling the Ministry of Health. That story is on page 2. Welcome to K24 this morning. The show starts right now. We shall be engaging with you across all our social media channels. Do stand by for that. Like I said, we shall be discussing the 2022 succession politics, and these individuals will be helping me have this conversation. I shall start with the lady in the house, Susan Silantoi, Public Policy Analyst. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We also have Arnold Maliba, Public Policy Analyst. Karibu tena sana, as usual.
Thank you, Mbuvi.
And via Skype, all the way from Bomet, we do have governance expert, Justus Minor. Justus, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Tim.
Let's just start with you on this one as we ask individuals our question of the day, our viewers rather. Ahead of the 2022 elections, what options does President Uhuru Kenyatta have? Ahead of the 2022 elections, what options does President Uhuru have? Find us on K24 across all media. And just as, like I said, let me start off with you. Looking at the situation as it is, everyone wants to be the person that will take over from the president, from Kivutha Kibwana to Mukisa Kitui. Of course, Raila is definitely someone of interest on this one. The deputy president has said that he's definitely going to be there. Kalonzo Musyoka also saying. So considering what is happening in the country politically, what do you think the direction, what direction is the president going to take? Probably is he going to appoint someone or leave it for them to fight for themselves?
I think an endorsement from the president is a double-edged sword. You remember the 202, Uhuru Tosha, and it was branded as a project.
Right.
So remember, anybody who will be outrightly endorsed by Uhuru Kenyatta himself will be branded so badly as a Uhuru project, and that would be the Uhuru in reincarnating himself through that particular individual. So
right.
I think candidates should not be in a hurry to seek and solicit for an endorsement from the president himself, because as I said, it can be a double-edged sword.
Right.
And of course, a serious candidate would not wait for any endorsement from the so-called deep state, the system, the president himself. I think a self-made man in 2022 would be the one who can easily carry the day, as opposed to a man would ideally wait for the sitting president to give him the green light and endorse him. Remember in 2013 there were individuals, it was rumored and said widely that Musalia Mudavadi was waiting for Kibaki to say Mudavadi Tosha, and of course it didn't happen. Kalonzo Musyoka, you remember in 2013 again, because he was the vice president, and of course I think he was waiting for Kibaki Tosha. It didn't come through, and of course he had to again become Raila's running mate in 2013 and 2017.
Right.
So to me, I think still among the pack, Raila and Ruto are still the front runners, because those are the self-made politicians who are not ordinarily be waiting for an endorsement from the president. But of course, Raila is hopefully waiting for the system. I've heard some of these looking and talking about the system, that they have always had the numbers, but they have never had the system. So 2022, they are saying they'll be honored and privileged to have the system.
Okay.
Whether that will work for them or not, but amidst the ODM brigade, there is this strong feeling that come 2022, they are only waiting for a confirmation that Raila will be the president, because hopefully they imagine that the president will be behind him. But remember, behind the doors, there are individuals who are rooting for Gideon Moi, who believe very strongly that Raila is only good in taming William Ruto.
Okay.
But a number of them, if you listen to a number of them, they don't believe that come 2022, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta may not necessarily say Raila Tosha, but they seem to be branding and quietly lobbying for Gideon Moi to be the one to take the mantle from the president. And remember, they believe that Gideon Moi is the safest pair of hands to take care of the interest of the huge interest of the president and his men. And they believe that Gideon Moi himself has got, the resources, may not be able to really run around and chase tenders in the country or use his friends to chase tenders.
Right.
And therefore, behind the doors, I think the man the system and the deep state honestly believe should be the one to take over from the president, in my opinion. And the person they are grooming, movie, is Gideon Moi, honestly.
All right. Thank you very much for that one, Justus. We'll be back with you shortly. Susan, if you look at the whole situation as he has explained it, and he's saying that if you have belief in yourself, do not wait to be endorsed by the president. But don't you think being endorsed by the outgoing president would be a very, very big deal for whoever he's going to say, Flani Tosha?
First of all, his comments are very informed, and they're based on history and everything that's been going on. My question would be what at this stage we're in as a democracy, what is the value of an endorsement? Could it be the same as when Kibaki endorsed someone, or when Moi endorsed someone? I think the dynamics probably have changed a little bit in the sense that we have a different demographic already. The big chunk of people who are going to vote in the next election are very young, and they've probably not lived through having a Kibaki endorsement in their understanding. Probably we don't remember who when Uhuru was being endorsed, the president was being endorsed. And even we're looking at the demographic change, but also we're looking at when you're looking at the value, how much do we value the president's word at this point? Because a lot of younger people would probably look at their financial situation or their current circumstances to kind of determine who they listen to politically.
In your opinion, do you think that we would value an endorsement from President Uhuru if today, for instance, he said Ruto Tosha? Do you think people will give it weight and be like, kama amesema hivyo, then this is the direction?
I think it depends. It just depends on who is looking at this endorsement, because yes, we can talk about our usual political choice-making demographics in terms of maybe tribe. That would play a key factor in whether people would accept an endorsement from the president or not. But then again, we're looking at this hustler narrative that is being brought up for that kind of groups people into demographics of your economic state. And most people are not in the same demographic state in terms of economic status as the president, and you'd wonder, does this person know what I go through, or what is right for me or not? So it just depends on how we're looking at it and how people are perceiving what the value of an endorsement is. I do think that it's changing slowly, just because we're living in an information age where people can access information from everywhere. We don't necessarily watch the news at 9 p.m. We probably look for clips that are relevant for us. And so it just depends on what informs our choices, and I think it's drastically changing.
Just hold on. I still want us to talk about the value of that endorsement, as she has put it, Arnold. And she has said it depends on who you are, and it will determine how you look at that endorsement. I don't know if today Raila said that he's not going to run for president. Do you think if he says a certain person, Mbuvi Mungala Tosha, do you think that his endorsement right now has got weight? Same to President Kibaki, former President Kibaki. Do you think if any of these individuals were to say today, Mbuvi Tosha, do you think people will actually give it weight?
I think the 2002 experiment by the former president, Daniel Arap Moi, with the current president. If it's anything to go by, then any current president, or rather any outgoing president, should stay away completely from trying to do an endorsement.
Okay.
I am not sure if Kenyatta had lived to retire, he would have endorsed Moi. That it's out there because, of course, he left office by death.
Okay.
But every outgoing president has attempted to do that, and the results have always not been very good because the former president, of course, told us he has looked among the people he has worked with for years. He didn't see any of them could lead this country, and he thought a greenhorn he had brought in from somewhere else was actually much better.
Okay.
Of course, people, the voters thought otherwise. In 2013-12, the deep state then, one thing people really do not know is that systems and leadership, wherever you are, is actually transitive, it's passing. So even the guys who called shots, and they were there to go to people then, thought that they had their own candidate. They even sponsored a party that was called UDF.
Okay.
Had their own candidate in mind. They pushed it through. But somehow that thing collapsed with a simple declaration of Madimoni by the current president. And it went down like a house of cards. So today we are at a place where the president is likely to do that. And we see him trying to maneuver that. Whereas we all know that BBI for him is actually an insurance against Raila and the disturbance.
Okay.
Because imagine wherever we are today, where we are today as a country with the economic doldrums, the pandemic as it is today, and political upheaval as it were in 2018 and 2017, you most likely will not be able to govern this country. It will become very difficult.
Okay.
One of those things I've actually picked issue with when Justice spoke, he said that when he was trying to describe who Gideon Moi is, he spoke of him as a man with resources. He will not run after tenders. And I'm so laughing because I think the Uhuru Kenyatta experiment along those lines has taught us otherwise. That it's one thing to say that Mbuvi here is well-to-do, he will not chase after these things. But human beings are inherently selfish. And I don't need to substantiate or defend that point. That when we were voting in the current president in 2013, one of those arguments were that he's a well-to-do guy and therefore there will not be corruption or anything. Right. But on his watch, we have seen hastes, high noon type of hastes everywhere. As in today, until we actually have gotten used to billions, when we speak about billions have been lost. If you steal millions, guys are like are you even normal? Because we are now used to billions.
Yes.
Under the watch of a man we were told wouldn't be interested in money and everything else. So I think, I know he was trying to pass a point that from the people who are trying to put up things to manage a succession, then Gideon will be their best bait.
Okay.
Also, I saw the union's boss Atwoli saying that Gideon will be the best person to do that. But at the end of the day, I know that the voters decided. They did in 2002. The voters decided in 2013 against a system that had already decided. Number one, and this was the argument, that this country was not ready for another Kikuyu. That was said in no uncertain terms. But voters decided otherwise. So even the guys sitting somewhere and thinking that they can use BBI as the shield upon which then they sneak in whatever candidate they have, they are likely to be very disappointed. Okay. But there is the elephant in the room. Is the president ready to go, or he wants to pull a Trump on us?
Okay. Let's ask Justice that question, because Justice, there has been talk as far as BBI is concerned that this is just another way of the president sneaking in back into power. So are we still talking about succeeding President Uhuru, or are we talking about a different kind of succession? Because the conversation around it and everyone who's been saying that they want to get into this particular office, clearly they're still surrounding themselves around the president.
Generally, this is the BBI and the handshake is a product that seems, in my opinion, that seeks to reincarnate the president in 2022, either through succeeding himself directly or through, putting in place individuals who will kowtow to himself. BBI, and you can see the force and the amount of force that being used to push through the agenda and of BBI. The signatures, the county commissioners are in place, the deputy county commissioners are in place, the chiefs are being used to collect signatures. When a document becomes a state project, when force is used to push through a document, Mbuvi, it is not what is indicated and what is written that worries me. It is the loopholes that seems to look like the BBI seems to create. For example, you may not know whether the president will run again in 2022. There are a lot that BBI seeks to create. And the politicians, there are people who crafted the BBI document.
Yes.
And for them, it is not what they have written that should be of our concern. It is what they have left behind that can be used in 2022 as a surprise card. People will be surprised in 2022 when even somebody can be nominated and that becomes the prime minister.
Okay.
Because it's not very clear whether for you to become a prime minister you need to be elected or even nominated. So if somebody can be pulled from somewhere, sidelines, and is nominated, and the next thing is a prime minister, the next thing is a deputy prime minister. So to me, there is a lot of mischief, and which is also accepted in politics, because politics, the other name of politics is mischief. You need to be mischievous when otherwise, you'll be got off guard. So the president, of course, ideally seeks to ensure that he has a firm hand on the transition period in 2022, that the person who ultimately becomes the president in 2022, it is either somebody who the president trusts or individual who will be managing the state of affairs in 2022 are people the president believes very strongly should be people who can be able to listen to him.
Right.
And sometimes that is why there is that fear that the DP may not be the person the deep state and the system are comfortable with. And of course, the BBI is about bringing the big boys on a dining table. That for this country to be stable, they are the big five: the Kalenjins, the Kikuyus, the Kambas,
the Luyas,
the Luos, and the Luyas must be on the dining table, which is a very wrong and a very erroneous political concept and a very dangerous one. That out of the 42 tribes in this country, 5 must be always at the dining table for stability to prevail in this country, and that in this is actually institutionalizing the prospect of the tribal chiefs, because in 2022 you will hear somebody will become the deputy prime minister, the 2 deputy prime ministers, the deputy president, and the prime ministers. Definitely, as I said again last week, and I want to repeat again, it will not be a Pokomo. It will not be nobody will be from Turkana would be appointed as the prime minister. It will always be the big 5.
All right.
And to me, it is actually institutionalization of the dominance of the big 5, which is a very dangerous trend. Because the next thing again, the other 37 or 38 small tribes will gang up and say, we also need something at the dining table. So at the end of the day, and I know the question was about whether the president in 2022 wants to have a firm hand, and I want to confirm that the president is trying to couple up the tribal chiefs, the 5 tribal chiefs, to form a coalition and ensure that one of the easiest way of forming a tribal coalition is when you create position for the tribal chiefs, and that is what BBI seems to want to entrench, and of course, definitely it will entrench in the politics of this country.
All right. Yes.
Just before he goes, just a point to actually set him straight. We have got about 54 tribes in this country.
Yes.
And not 43, about 54. But I'll tell you this, that 89% of our population is just made up of 10 communities. So, and that is why, for people who think that the mathematics is actually based in reality, practicality. There is what is ideal and there is what is practical. If you've sat on strategy tables at national level, people are only concerned about the top 5. If you can work out with 3 of them, scatter 1, unite 2, and then have the other tribes outside of the top 5 as additives, you are sorted for the presidency. Unfortunately, that is how mathematics works. When guys are working out their mathematics, that you just need to bring either together 3, and then there's nothing else the other guys will do. So
just 3 out of the 54.
Just out of the top 5, you just need 3.
Okay.
The others will just come in like kachumbari, chumvi as you work out on your meal.
Okay.
Yeah, so
wow.
I know he means well,
Yes.
but the truth is that,
That's
the
the
numbers
truth,
are
yes.
lopsided, and for politicians, we are utilitarians. It's about practicality. Does it work? Don't change.
All right. Silantoi, there's something he said, mischief, in that conversation. And the funny thing he said is that the top 5, tribal chiefs, once they come together, then they're just creating positions for themselves. So the question that I will ask you after the break, or rather when we come back from the break, is do you think the president is going anywhere? Do not go too far. Remember, our question of the day still stands. Engage us across our social media pages and let us know what you think about ahead of the 2022 elections. What options does President Uhuru have? Is he going anywhere? Do you believe in the narrative of have 3 tribes scatter 2 or the top 5 and their dining table? Well, we'll be right back. Do not go too far.